Hey guys, it's Godbars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 304th episode of my series, where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it has, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. So today we're going to discuss an act that may not be the single most politically or socially conscious group to come out of the golden age, but I would still maintain that As Nasty as They Wanna Be, the third studio album from Miami's own 2 Live Crew, is an insanely important and influential staple of late 80s, early 90s hip-hop. I've brought these guys up numerous times in the past on the channel, because honestly they're the first name next to Too Short whenever I see people complaining about the overly sexual content in modern hip-hop, and treating it as if it's somehow a recent phenomenon in the culture. Because I genuinely feel like you could take any of the Cardi B or Meg Thee Stallion songs that get criticized for their themes and explicit nature, and they would pale in comparison to what 2 Live Crew was saying back in 1989 here. This group had a couple roster changes over the years, but the most iconic lineup was comprised of Uncle Luke, Fresh Kid Ice, Mr. Mix, and Brother Marquise. And when they first formed in the mid-80s, they were actually in Richmond, California, though they would quickly relocate to the other side of the country. However, there wasn't yet much of a prominent hip-hop scene in Miami or Florida in general for that matter, so they really made a name for themselves by capitalizing off the popular dirty bass movement. In fact, they played a massive role in pioneering the sound, releasing their debut full-length LP in 1986, titled The 2 Live Crew Is What We Are, before following it up a couple years later with 1988's Move Something. While 1989's As Nasty as They Wanna Be is definitely their most successful and well-known album, the crew would continue putting out controversial and boundary-pushing material all throughout the following decade, including 1990's Banned in the USA, 1991's Sports Weekend As Nasty as They Wanna Be Part 2, 1994's Back at Your Ass for the 9-4, 1996's Shake a Little Something, and finally 1998's The Real One. While I'm sure your average hip-hop purist at the time wasn't exactly a huge fan of 2 Live Crew and what they represented, in fairness to these guys, I think they actually were kind of ahead of their time when it comes to just making rap music that was fun, energetic, and geared more towards parties and clubs, opposed to the political and Afrocentric LPs being made by the likes of A Tribe Called Quest or Public Enemy, or even certain acts that I covered earlier on in this set of Golden Age LPs, like X-Clan or Paris. Honestly, I could name 10 times the artists in that department where they made forward-thinking and conscious hip-hop during this era than I can groups like 2 Live Crew, where they were pretty open from the start about their MO being to craft ass-shaking anthems. And that's exactly what they managed to do time and time again. There's definitely a bit of a novel and even comedic aspect to a lot of their output in retrospect, with a perfect example being one of their biggest hit singles, Me So Horny, which is a legendary track which samples the iconic prostitute scene from the absolutely amazing Stanley Kubrick movie Full Metal Jacket. And I also think it's dope how they took a movie line that just saw a character talking and making some noises, and they managed to flip it into an insanely successful and catchy hook. However, if I had to choose a favorite beat from this loaded debut, I would definitely have to go with Coolin' Fresh Kid Ice's side, because it has this serene loop that got stuck in my head right from the first time I heard it, and I also like this song for the simple fact it isn't all about sex and eating ass. Instead, the lyrics paint a picture of Fresh Kid Ice taking an enjoyable drive along the beachside with his girl, and these relatively more innocent themes, while they may not necessarily last, help break up the pace a bit and flesh out the content a bit more on As Nasty as They Wanna Be. He kicks off his first verse rapping, "Coolin' in Miami, one summer day, driving down the streets along the bay. My girl's hair's blowing in the breeze, her skin's getting tanned 'cause it's 90 degrees. I took her home and met the homeboys, before getting bored we'll avoid the Noid. Went to Opalaka, jumped in Luke's jet, to the Bahamas, and Mick said bet. We landed in Nassau. When walking downtown, we met 4 females, all of them were down. Went to the beach on Paradise Isle, we played water sports and had sex for a while. Before we knew it, it was time to go, cause the very next day, we had a show. We'll let the people see that 2 Live is rulin'. Now back to the crib where we'll be coolin'. All of the production on here is done in-house, and once again, we don't really have any featured artists to speak of. So I'm just going to get right into my top 3 overall favorite tracks, which for this one would definitely have to be Coolin', Me So Horny, and Dirty Nursery Rhymes. Then for the honorable mentions, I'm going to name tracks like Put Her in the Buck, Come On Babe, Break It On Down, I Ain't Bullshittin', Get Loose Now, My 7 Bizzos, DK Almighty, Reggae Joint, and Badass Bitch. Thank you for watching my 304th video. Next up, we're going back to 1990 for another overdue classic, so tap in for that one, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite songs are off this fairly controversial LP. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Bet.